So before we actually animate this, there's couple other things I want to do. I want to add some effects to the text before we animate it so that we can kind of see what it's going to look like before it starts moving. And then also, I want to show you how to create that rainfall effect. So first though, let's add the effects to the text. So I'm going to select the text right here, and I'm going to drop this down so that I can see what we've got for effects underneath. And while I've got the text layer selected, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to look for something over in the effects and presets over here. And I'm going to look for, I want to do a bevel on it. So like it'll probably have like a bevel shadow kind of thing. I also want to kind of make it glow a little bit. And there's a set of those exact things that you can do, and it's called dimension. It's adding dimension to it. And then if I start to type the word dimension, I don't even have to finish typing it, but I will. And then you see we've got under the image creative category, we have dimension for bevel and shadow and dimension for glow and shadow. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to add both of those to the text layer, and you will see now that we've got this effects option here. And what I've got happening over here now is, oh, and by the way, something else that just happened, I'm not sure what I did to click it, but it kind of did something weird I didn't expect it to do. But right here, it went from my project panel right here to effect controls, which is fine actually if I want to be able to see my effect controls in a larger scale without having to drop everything down here in the timeline, because then it just explodes my timeline in a weird way. So that's fine too. And what we can do is just pull this down a little bit, and we can look at it up here so that you know that you have that option with this little drop down double arrow thing, right? We can jump back between our project panel and our effect controls. And don't confuse effect controls with effects and presets, which is over here on the right. Effects and presets is where the actual effects are going to be that you find so that you can apply them. But once they're applied, the effect controls panel over here on the left is where you can actually control how those effects are being applied. And it's also, as I mentioned, the same thing as looking at the effect controls down underneath. Okay, but this way we can look at more of the timeline this way if we are using this panel up in the top left corner. So what I want to look at, let's just collapse some of these so we can see what we've got at a glance. All right. So we've got a bunch of drop shadows. So that drop shadow, it comes with 3 different options. And then we've got this bevel, and then we've got the drop shadow for the bevel. Okay, so let's focus right now first on the shadow stuff and the glow, because right now it's so significantly strong that it's pretty hard to even ascertain the words, because you'd look at that and go, I don't want to use that. That looks terrible. All right. Well, we're going to minimize it significantly. So the first thing that I want to do, let's just go to the white glow. And I'm going to open up the shadows and the glow. And whenever I make a change here, let's see, let's go down to, for the opacity, we're going to bump this way down. Actually, here, let's just use the slider. So I'm going to drag and slide. As I slide down, it keeps getting minimal. And that's good. That's what I want to have happen. I don't want it to be that minimal. Let's say somewhere in that ballpark. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the opacity on the shadows as well. Let's turn it down so that it's just really minimal, somewhere in this range, I guess, like maybe another, let's just see what happens if I put all of these at like 4%. Okay, and that might actually be a kind of a better place to start. And so that's on the shadow. Let's see what happens now when we go to this other part. And let's look at the drop shadow that's on the bevel part. And so let's see, let's change the opacity. Let's see if it's, maybe if we can bring that up a little bit. I don't know if we want to do that or not. Let's turn the softness up so that it's sort of like a blur, right? Let me see if I turn the opacity down a little bit. Yeah, so somewhere, I don't know, somewhere in this ballpark, I think. And then we've kind of got this glow that's happening. And then we also want to like look at the timeline as we're moving through it. And we've got this like glow. It really depends on how much you want that to glow. It doesn't have to be that much. And right now this is blown up at 200%. Maybe we should look at it at 100% since, you know, we're doing something that is a pretty strong effect. And lastly, let me see if the softness on this is just a little soft. I think I didn't change the softness for, yeah, I think the softness is still turned way up on the shadow. Let me turn that down for the glow and for the other shadows. Let's turn that down too. And last one, let's do that. And so I think I might be a little bit happier. It's like slightly less soft and blurry. Right, so now I've got my effect added, and if I scrub through the timeline, I can make sure that it looks okay for me throughout. And what it does by adding that effect, what it's doing is it's also allowing me to, here, let's zoom back out. It's allowing me to see this even in the darkest areas where the words sort of started to disappear. And so that's the benefit of having that, is that it still will have some little bit of an afterglow, right? And so that's what's nice about that. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to add the rainfall. I think I'm not going to make this video super long, so we're just going to skip to the next one, and that'll be the next thing that we do.